Mr. Mayor?
Hey.
How you doing?
Good morning,
Good,
Mayor.
Ebro temporarily disappeared. I don't know where he went, so we're starting without him.
You know, is Ebro in witness protection now?
Yeah, you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, he's questionable. Now, by the way, before we get into the important crux of the interview, Laura, didn't you tell me you saw the mayor the other day?
I did. New Year's Day. We have something in common. We have our favorite diner in common.
Which is?
It's a
Wait,
mansion.
we don't want to give it away,
Oh,
Laura.
sorry.
All right, let's.
Did you say hello, Laura?
This is our thing, Laura.
Of course
Okay.
I did. We had a nice little chat.
Oh,
But I have to tell you, I didn't know that a famous personality like Laura Stiles went to a regular diner with the rest of us. I thought she went to like elite hip hop diners.
That's what he said. He said, I imagine seeing you at some hip hop diner. I'm like, what are you talking about, Mayor?
all right, well, Mayor, good news. Ebro has returned from witness protection. He's here.
I'm here. I'm back.
Bro, Happy New Year.
Mr. Bill, Mayor De Blasio, Happy New Year to you too, sir.
All right, so Mayor, it's time for you to release the year-end 2016 crime statistics. How did we do?
It's amazing, Ebro. It's absolutely amazing. Crime has gone down in so many ways in New York City. We have the lowest lowest number of shootings we've had in decades. And at the same time as we've had extraordinary reductions in crime, here's what's also happened. Stop-and-frisk continues to go down. It has gone down 93% since I took office. It was over 200,000 people stopped the year before I came in. There were only 13,000 people stopped in 2016. So you have stops going way down. You have arrests going way down. There's been 20% fewer arrests over the last 3 years. But at the same time, crime goes down, gang violence is going down, shootings are going down, gun seizures are going up. So we're doing it because police and community are communicating, respecting each other, a lot less negative interaction, a lot more partnership.
Let me ask you something, Mayor De Blasio. Couldn't the categorization of stop and frisk change the number? Meaning, how is a stop and frisk determined? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Couldn't theoretically the city say, okay, that's not a stop and frisk, this is, and by category that gets changed? Because I do hear some people say, I still get stopped all the time, and I don't know why. Are they still profiling me? I still hear those stories. So, as a citizen of New York City, how is that defined?
Well, Ebro, I have to tell you, it's a good question, but I want to tell you, I hear the stories all the time of people saying how different the environment is than 3 or 4 years ago, and how they're not stopped all the time.
Right.
So I think it all depends on the individual, obviously. But look, the bottom line is there's a specific protocol. All our officers are trained. And by the way, remember, since we came to office, all our officers have been retrained in how to approach any interaction with the community differently, how to de-escalate, and how to have a better dialogue with the community. That's all part of our neighborhood policing vision. But for example, with a stop, there's a specific protocol of when it's an appropriate opportunity for a stop, and then you have to record it. What we're finding is that, remember, it's not just the stops are down. As I said, 20% fewer arrests than 3 years ago. That's because what we're finding is, in the past, a lot of people were stopped who shouldn't have been stopped. A lot of people were arrested who didn't need to be arrested. There were other alternatives, like a summons or a warning. And what Commissioner O'Neill is doing now with neighborhood policing is emphasizing use the tool that makes sense in a given situation. We want the least interaction necessary because we want to focus on serious crime. That's where we want officers' energies to go.
Right.
And since they have been putting more and more energy on serious crime, on gang violence, etc., you've seen those violence numbers start to go down more and more.
Yes, absolutely. I think. Look, I do. Living here and working here, you definitely feel a different tone in the city. But if we're going to continue to be honest and critical, and you always come on this show and give us good talk, just want to make sure we ask the right questions so we really understand how to identify where the real problems are and continue to get better.
Well, that's right. And Ebro, one more point I want to make. We are working across the board this year to deepen the training of our officers. One of the things I'm very excited about is we're going to be instituting implicit bias training. This is a cutting-edge approach that helps all of our officers of all backgrounds understand the human biases we all carry and helps weed it out in terms of the work they do. This is something that's extraordinary going to be happening with the biggest police force in the country. But the bottom line is to try and work with every officer to make sure that we're connecting best with the community. We want information from neighborhood residents. We want them to work in partnership with police. So that's where you want each interaction to be as positive and communicative as possible. You know, there are times where someone has done something that's worthy of a stop. So that's why we still will have some stops when someone exhibits very specific behavior or does something very specific that law enforcement needs to follow up on. But what we're finding in a huge number of other situations is there's much more communication. There's much more of an assumption that police and neighborhood residents are trying to get to the same goals together.
That's right. They are. Everybody wants their neighborhoods to be safe, and they want a positive, quiet, lifestyle in their community and a place for their kids to grow and get old.
But Mr. Mayor, so President-elect Trump, he's of course used the stop and frisk example in New York to be like, oh, stop and frisk was great. That's why I'm going to bring more of it back. What do you and your administration, A, do to make sure that does not happen here, and B, what have you gotten to tell President-elect Trump any of your thoughts on stop and frisk and how it worked or didn't work in New York?
Well, I told the president-elect when I met with him point blank, I said, look, we're having the exact opposite experience over the last 3 years as we've intensely reduced the use of stop and frisk. Crime continues to go down. And here's why the gun seizure point is so important. You know, a lot of what you heard in the previous administration was, well, this is how you get guns off the street. What we found is we've been able to get more and more guns by going at gangs and by getting information from community residents to help us find illegal guns. That's been what's been productive. So when you had a rift between police and community in a lot of neighborhoods because of stop and frisk, it actually made it harder to get information, harder to get support for what the police were doing in getting the guns. Now, the information's flowing, the partnership is there. So I told the president-elect, very straightforward, I said, you got to understand that the reduction of stop and frisk has allowed us to reduce crime. If you try and push the increase in it in other cities, it's literally going to create a barrier between police and community. I think it's very powerful that these statistics have come out now, proving 2016 record year for lowering crime, record year for reduction of stop and frisk, just as the new president is taking office. I hope this is the ultimate example to him of why stop and frisk is the wrong way to go in this country.
Did you also tell him that if he wasn't president-elect, you tell him to his face that you don't like him and likely pull his crazy hair off the top of his head?
Ebro.
Or no, you left that?
Ebro, this is why you're probably not going into the diplomatic corps.
I'm not. No plans.
Yeah.
Mayor De Blasio, can you explain what precision policing is or neighborhood policing?
Yeah, and they're two related things, Laura. Precision policing means you focus on where the major problems are, and you put extra police resources where, for example, if you've had a particular problem with shootings, if you have a particular problem with gang activity, you concentrate resources at that location as both a preventive measure and a way to really reduce any potential for violence. But and what in the past we learned was a lot of times, police were spread out all over the place, not necessarily where the biggest problems were. So precision policing allows us to go where the problem is. Neighborhood policing is a concept that Commissioner O'Neill really developed. He's the architect of it. And it simply says we're going to take officers, have them cover a very small area of a neighborhood. They're not going to be in the squad car running all over the place. They're going to have a particular area, a walkable part of a neighborhood that they're responsible for, a team of 2 officers. It could be a housing project. It could be a certain set of blocks in the community. Their job is to get to know the neighborhood residents, get to know clergy, get to know storekeepers, and really understand what's happening. And here's what they're doing. It's amazing. These neighborhood coordinating officers who are part of this program, they're literally developing relationships, giving community residents their cell phone, giving community residents their emails, telling them, if you see anything, any hour of the day that you need to tell me, just reach out to me personally. And what that's doing is it's helping us stop a lot of crime before it happens, because now the neighborhood residents feel comfort communicating constantly with the officer that they know represents and serves their immediate neighborhood.
Now, De Blasio, before we get you off, I know there's a lot, you've done a lot of great work. What?
Where's this interview going?
What do you mean?
Nothing. You just said the way you verbalized that was not what I was.
Before we get you off?
Right. That's just not. I don't think it's that kind of interview.
Calm down. Ooh, man, we got the mayor of the city on this.
I'm not up to date with this modern.
No, don't worry about it. Don't
Don't
worry
worry
about it.
about
It's
it, man,
not
please.
anything you should be concerned with,
Not
mayor.
worry about it.
Do
You
not
we
worry.
have De Blasio.
But let me just
it's
throw
not
out-
Anthony Weiner on the phone, Ebro. Relax.
Stop. Let me just say pause. Mayor Trump and the amount of money and resources that are going to make sure that Fifth Avenue stuff is, organized. Let's just say that.
Andy, bro, let's not forget about the amount of. I hear that there are people literally going out of business because
Yes.
no one can even
Yes.
make it to these businesses.
What is the end game here, Mayor De Blasio? How does this get fixed? Like, what's? I mean, obviously he's supposed to go to the White House as of January 21st, but here in our city for the next 3 weeks, it's still going to be a mess.
Yeah, look, I think it's a couple points, bro. It's costing us almost $500,000 a day. That's not an expense that New York City or any city should have to cover. This is a national security issue. This is a federal responsibility. Now, look, we went to Washington at the beginning. We got some resources, but nowhere near enough. We have another chance in a few months to get the money that we deserve retroactively. And look, I think from talking to people around Trump, I think they do understand this is unprecedented. There's never been a president-elect with his office in the middle of a major American city, and that it's just unfair for the NYPD to shoulder that burden without getting reimbursed. I think Trump's people understand that. I think a lot of people in Congress understand it. The end game is to go back in a few months when there's the next opportunity and get that money back. And again, I'm pretty confident. I won't want to be overconfident, but I feel good that people understand this is not something this city should have to carry.
Mayor De Blasio, it's always great to talk to you, and I'm sure we got a lot of things to cover. Are you a Giants fan?
Ebro, you know my sordid history that I was born in New York
Yes,
City.
I know.
My parents moved to Massachusetts
That's
when I was
right.
young, so
That's right.
I do support a team that's in the playoffs, though.
It's called the New England Patriots.
You know, but the Giants have messed with them many a time. So.
That's right. They've had your number. They've had the Patriots number.
They sure have.
De Blasio, I hate to bring up that you're a Patriots fan. When are you running for office again?
Yeah, Matt, can you imagine that this year? How inconvenient.
How inconvenient!
You're so wrong.
No, seriously, when are you running for office again?
This year, bro, this is the mayoral election year.
And when do we actually vote for? Wait, who's coming up against you? Like, we gotta.
They're trying to find people. They're pulling people out. They're trying.
Yeah, it's September is the Democratic primary, November is the general election. I'm not going to delineate the opponents, and we don't know necessarily who they all are, but I can tell you I'm going to be all over the city. I'm going to be crisscrossing all the neighborhoods of the city, talking about what we've done to make this a fairer city and obviously a safer city.
And I would say that, and this is my opinion, I don't know if this is fact or just the way I see things, but the two major knocks against you as mayor have been a homelessness issue, correct? And relationship with the police. Am I saying that right?
You know, I would say this, Ebro, that we have more to do on homelessness. There's no question about it. We've tried some strategies. Some are beginning to work, particularly our homestead effort, which is doing a lot to get people who are street homeless off the street and into shelter and get them support. But we got a lot more to do, and some of the things we've tried haven't worked as well as I want. Others are beginning to work. On the relationship with the police, I think, look, what I just talked to you about, the city's getting safer. Relationship between police and community is getting better. I've had my ups and downs with the police union. That's a true statement.
Right.
But in terms of the work at the neighborhood level, I think there's a lot to be proud of, and I think police and community are getting along a lot better than they did 3 or 4 years ago in this city.
All right. Well, listen, I'm sure we're going to be hearing from you a lot. Happy New Year to you. And let's continue to have this open dialogue. And I really appreciate the last time we talked after Trump won the election, how you were clear about saying the decisions that Trump may make at a federal level, you'll be able to protect us here on a local level in New York City.
That's why, thank God, we in this city, we have our own values. We have our own police force. We have our own schools. We're going to do things our way and the way that New Yorkers believe in. And I keep saying that doesn't change. Our values don't change because of a single presidential election. We're going to stand up for the people of this city.
There you go. Mayor
Facts.
De Blasio, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Happy New Year, guys.
Later.